Hey, I want to give special thanks today on the video here. The fact that you can see me at all is thanks to Theater Monkey, who helps me shoot my Tech Republic 5 apps videos. And my bulbs burnt out yesterday afternoon, so I called him up and was like, "Hey, do you know where to get bulbs?" And he volunteered to go, not only go get the bulbs this morning, but then like ninja style, drove his scooter across Los Angeles with them crossed like katanas on his back. And arrived, and now we have light again. So the fact that you can see
Theater
me
Monkey
is entirely thanks to Theater Monkey. It was actually pretty impressive to see him ride up with the light bulbs. All right. So you guys ready?
Yep.
All right. Darren, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Oh, I didn't do my voice for.
That's your voice for everybody.
The one voice. It's the Spaghetti Tonight voice.
The Spaghetti Tonight guy.
Yeah.
The Spaghetti Tonight guy. Hi, everybody. I'm having spaghetti tonight. Let's watch.
Oh, we're already off to a good show.
All right, here we go.
Count us in.
Hold your breath.
The Daily Tech News Show is entirely supported and funded by voluntary contributions from listeners like you. If you want to chip in and support your daily source of tech, visit patreon.com/acedetect.
This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, September 26, 2014. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today is Darren Kitchen of hack5.org. How's it going, Darren?
Hey, it's so good to see you back, Tom.
Not much going on in security this week.
No.
I'm sure we'll dig something up to talk about.
You know, whatever's laying around. Let's come up with something catchy.
Got to come up with something good so Len Peralta can draw it. He is our artprov master, illustrating the show.
Hi, everybody.
Wait. Is that Winston Churchill?
It is. That's fine. This is you. This is Tom Merritt. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom Merritt.
Wow, it's like I'm hearing myself.
It's good to be here, and hopefully I'll draw something great. We'll see.
Yes, I know you will. I have the faith. And these are the headlines. GigaOM reports good news for BlackBerry. But first, the bad news. Handset sales were down 200,000 to 2.4 million, and the company lost $207 million. However, that's quite a bit less than the $965 million that they lost a year ago. Not to mention, BlackBerry has $3.1 billion in the bank, cash, plus the BlackBerry Passport received 200,000 pre-orders, which ain't bad.
See, they're totally not Palm. Not at all.
No, don't even joke. Poor BlackBerry. Sysadmins the world over continue to deal with the Shellshock vulnerability with patches out for most Linux distros, that not all of them are complete patches. Consumers should be most concerned about devices with embedded systems like routers and webcams, as well as OS X. Apple says most OS X users will not have the Unix services turned on that would allow attackers to take advantage of the vulnerability. However, a patch is in the works for those sophisticated users that might have turned on those services. Bash maintainer Chet Ramey said on Twitter he had notified Apple of Shellshock several times before it was made public. Apple uses an older version of Bash, version 3.2.51 because the company avoids GPL v3 licensed software like Frankenstein's monster avoids villagers with torches, apparently. We're going to talk quite a bit more about Shellshock in a bit. Reuters reports the European Aviation Safety Agency said Friday it will allow passengers to use portable electronic devices throughout the entire flight without being in airplane mode. That's right, your 3G, your LTE, you can just have it on if you're in Europe. ESA said this is the latest regulatory step toward enabling the ability to offer gate-to-gate telecommunications or Wi-Fi services. Each airline will have to conduct a safety assessment before changing their policies. TechCrunch reports Apple released iOS 8.0.2. The new update includes all original fixes promised in the earlier update and fixes the cell reception issue with iPhones 6 and 6 Plus, as well as a bug in HealthKit app that delayed release of compatible apps, and a bug where third-party keyboards would default back to Apple's keyboard when activated inside an app. Apple said in their apology about the mistaken iOS update earlier this week that fewer than 40,000 devices were affected by the bad release, which was pulled after an hour.
Ouch, reverting back to Apple default keyboard. Let's make that worst bug of 2014.
You know, actually,
Unless anything better comes up in this show.
The new Apple default keyboard is better because it actually gives you some of those Swift key-like suggestions, those swipe-like suggestions. But the tech press all decided to notice social network Ello today. It's been around for a while. I think it got a big boost at XOXO. That's my theory. Anyway, maybe it's just because it's Friday. I don't know. Engadget reports Ello is notching up 20,000 new users an hour, despite being invite-only. Ello is created by designers and artists. Its CEO, Paul Budnitz, is founder of that toy company Kid Robot. Its central premise is that it will not turn you into a product to sell to advertisers, so no ads. The idea is to provide basic functions for free, but more advanced functions, like if you wanted to have multiple accounts managed from one login, say, they might charge you a couple bucks for that. Budnitz says, we're not competing, we're just building this thing that we really want to use. ZDNet reports that Amazon has officially acquired game streaming service Twitch and its more than 55 million active monthly users for $970 million. Amazon VP of Games Mike Frazzini said the deal came together after Amazon met with Twitch leaders and decided their culture was an awesome fit with Amazon's culture. Because obviously, live streaming gaming and packaging up things in boxes, perfect fit. To recap, Amazon now owns an incredibly popular live streaming platform for less than one Instagram. Recode reports that Intel will pay up to $1.5 billion for a 20% stake in two mobile chip makers with ties to the Chinese government. Intel will acquire the stake in Spreadtrum Communications and RDA Microelectronics through a deal with Tsinghua Unigroup in an attempt to catch up to rival Qualcomm in the mobile chip market. Time for some news from you. These come from our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Habituela Condolci pointed out Samsung announced its highest capacity SSD yet. The SM1715 can store 3.2 terabytes of data and is in production right now. The drive is made using Samsung's 3D VNAND technology. That's the one where storage chips are placed on top of each other. The random read speed of the drive is 750,000 IOPS. That's input-output operations per second. And write speed is 130,000 IOPS. Price and ship dates were not announced, but hopefully it's going to be cheaper than the $20,000 LSI Nitro. That's 3.2 terabytes.
Oh, man, I can't wait to see a Beowulf cluster of these.
Yeah. Okay, can you imagine if you had the money to do a Beowulf cluster of $20,000 solid-state drives?
Who does? The NSA? They could use these, too.
Oh, wait. That's what they built in Utah.
Oh.
SP Sheridan shares a BBC report that the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation is, quote, very concerned about Apple and Google's plan to create file encryption systems to which the companies would have no access. The head of the FBI, James Comey, told reporters that lives could depend on continuing access to device data. The FBI is holding conversations with both companies. Apple and Google have not yet responded. We have keys to all your houses. Oops, I wasn't supposed to say that, Comey is imagined to have said by me.
Dude, I love this. Didn't we say like a year ago after the initial Snowden leaks, like this will eventually trickle down and make the world a better place for all consumers?
You know, I mean, this is definitely an example of me personally being happy that I am now more sure that my data is going to stay on my device and it's in my hands. Of course, I could still screw that up if I want to, but you know, it is like locks on houses. Encryption is breakable, and locks are breakable, but you know, the police don't say, you know, we really would like people to not put locks on their houses because sometime we might need to go into a bad guy's house and that's going to make it more difficult for us.
Well, no, it's just, you know, normally they can just, you know, break the door down, but it's a lot harder to do that with the encryption stuff. So it's like, come on, guys, you're making it like, you know, normal people don't have fortress houses. They just have regular front doors.
Right. I'm imagining Comey went into the IT department at the FBI. Is like, will this battering ram open an iPhone encryption? No? Oh, crap.
But maybe a rubber hose will get them to divulge their password.
Well, and that's really where the vulnerability lies, is forcing you legally to comply with handing over your password. That's what's going to happen. They're going to get the courts to say, you're in contempt if you don't give us your password. Ankrod, too, pointed out the Moscow Times article noting Russia's Roskomnadzor agency, which supervises the media and communications, has notified Google, Facebook, and Twitter that they must register as organizers of information distribution and therefore keep information about Russian users on servers located inside the country. Companies have until the end of the year to register or risk administrative sanctions.
See, in fact, this goes right back to the previous story in that what technology giveth, politics taketh away.
Well, if you just think of your iPhone with its data stored inside there and not in the cloud in certain cases, just imagine Russia as a really big phone, right? It's just they're just saying we just want the data to be stored here where we can see it. And that is a look at the headlines. All right, I want to kick off our discussion story. We got two. We got a drone story. We haven't had a drone story in a while. But first, we got to talk about Shellshock because there's a few more things that have come out since we talked about it yesterday. James Songer wrote in and he said, in the coverage of Shellshock, everyone's jumping to the conclusion that every Linux, Unix, BSD-based embedded device is vulnerable since they all include Bash. That's just not the case. Embedded devices, even Android devices like phones and tablets, use a shell called BusyBox instead because it requires much less storage and memory than Bash, plus Core Utils provides all the basic unit commands like ls, echo, df, etc.
Well, as a manufacturer of embedded devices, I can actually attest to the fact that, yes, BusyBox is a lot more lightweight, and we did use it on the Wi-Fi Pineapple for years as the default shell. In fact, I still believe /bin/sh points to BusyBox, while we still also include Bash for some of the more advanced functions. That said, even though, like, I mean, sure, there's that, technically you could construe, like, all of the millions of embedded devices that are possibly vulnerable to this, you know, and my beloved Pineapple here included, except for the fact that we don't take advantage of this quote-unquote feature in any sort of way that exposes the vulnerability to be exploited. So, did we patch it? Yeah, it's patched. It's in the next firmware. Is it exploitable right now? Well, not in most circumstances.
Yeah, and I, you know, James sort of sets it up as like everyone's saying this, and I don't think everyone's saying this, but it is the fair counter argument is that sure, loads of newer stuff use BusyBox, and they've used BusyBox for years now. But really, I think the ones that you would be most concerned about are older devices, older routers particularly, I would think, where people have used them for years because they're just not that into technology, and they're least likely to update the firmware on those, and those might have Bash. Yeah,
and the least likely to be updated as we go forward, as we enter into this quote-unquote world of Internet of Things. It's going to be Internet of Vulnerable Things, where there's not a commercial pressure for manufacturers to put in place mechanisms to do things like convenient firmware updates and things of that nature, or even, you know, any sort of interest in squashing some of these things when it, like, you know, for instance, in this case, it may or may not, the attack surface is so low that some may wonder how serious it is. Now, and I'm not disputing the fact that it's serious. Like, this is a big one. This is a really big, juicy, awesome, quote-unquote bug in the sense of, like, Heartbleed, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and all that said, too, I think that the other thing to keep in mind in James' defense is that you don't want to assume just because you have an embedded device that you're vulnerable, right? It may have BusyBox, and you may be totally fine for now. But the point is to check, is to get everybody to be like, you know, don't just assume you're fine. Take some responsibility into your own hands.
Or what you can assume is if it's running Linux, it most likely has Bash, and if it has Bash, it's probably bad, so you should switch to Windows. It's more secure.
Wait, who are you?
From Hack5 Darren with a mustache. Dun, dun, dun.
Evil Hack5 Darren. But no, James is right. I think a lot of people may be overreacting, like, all the Internet of Things. But I don't think everybody's overreacting. All of that said, iMore did get the statement. I think they got it first. It was the first place I saw it anyway, from Apple, saying, quote, OS X systems are safe by default. Don't ever say things like that. I know what they mean. They are not exposed to remote exploits of Bash unless users configure advanced Unix services. And they are working to provide a software update for advanced Unix services. Stack Exchange has instructions to recompile Bash using Xcode. If you are one of those users, like, actually, yes, I have used these advanced services and I need to figure this out. Patches 25 and 26 are out. There's a discussion going on sec lists, though, about whether using setuid or setgid is a vulnerability or not. not. So they've gotten down to that point where they're like, bug or feature, bug or feature. Where's the responsibility lie? Which is a good sign in my estimation. Google has taken some steps to fix bugs in its services. Amazon has published mitigating steps for any vulnerable customers on Amazon Web Services. Red Hat has a couple of patches out. As we've mentioned, one of them is incomplete. Debian Wheezy has a patch. CentOS, Ubuntu all have updates. Some sporadic reports out there of botnets and DDoSes. It's hard to confirm whether they're really taking advantage of this or not, but some security firms seem to think they are. Darren, I feel like yesterday, you summed it up perfectly earlier. This is a very important and awesome. In other words, it is full of awe when you look at this vulnerability, because up to 50% of web servers could theoretically be vulnerable to it, and it's been around theoretically since 85. Although I think I saw Chet Ramey saying, yeah, we think the vulnerability probably came along in like 94, 92, somewhere in there.
Yeah, but that's prehistoric in internet years.
Even so, yeah, that's a long time. We don't know if anybody's been taking advantage of it before now, but you could assume some state actors might have been.
That's the tinfoil hat angle, and I absolutely love it. And it makes you wonder, in a post-Snowden world, why we're actually seeing things come out, especially things that are vulnerable in these kind of mainstay applications that are part of the open source stack that we so know and love, like OpenSSL in the terms of Heartbleed, and like Born Again Shell in terms of Shellshock, worst name ever.
Shellshock's worse than Heartbleed?
Yay!
It's
we'll
a
let them
pun.
fight it out. We'll let them fight it out. And interestingly, this is one of those things where it's like, yes, it's making great headlines because, yeah, it is very important. But unlike Heartbleed, there's nothing really that you can tell a user to do. In fact, going back to what Apple said, what they meant when they made that statement was, our customers use iPhoto, not Bash. Like, they don't know how to open the terminal, do they? Do we let them do that?
And the worrisome thing would be if I could go to a malformed website and it would execute Bash and own my computer. It sounds like what Apple is claiming is that wouldn't happen unless you've configured some other services to be able to take advantage of Bash. We lock that down in the standard distribution of OS X.
Right, and in the case of for most consumers, when we were talking about Heartbleed, it's like, well, the vuln exists on the service provider side, but as a good precaution, you might want to change your password. In this one, it's like that's not necessarily like, there isn't necessarily consumer advice for this one. Like most people, this doesn't affect. And if it does, you probably already know.
Exactly. I think that's a good way of putting it.
And in another sense, though, you can also, if you know what you're doing, you probably also know, say, for instance, you're a PHP programmer, you're probably also aware that the PHP system execute function could be used maliciously. But it's there because it's convenient, and if you do it right and you sanitize your input, everything will be A-okay for the most part. And
it seems like patch 25 and 26 have really shut down the really like nasty stuff that shouldn't have been there. And now we're on to that sort of like, well, if you use it responsibly, how idiot-proof should Bash has become the conversation.
Well, the idiot proof, if we harken back to the 90s when this began, this bug, we look at, say, some of the HTML that's quote-unquote valid in most modern browsers, but if you check W3C, they're not even listed because, people just started using HTML tags that didn't necessarily exist, and, the Mosaics and Netscapes of the world had to adapt and say,
I fought against iframe for years and lost.
Yeah, but only noobs use frames, duh. But anyway, it's one of those things where you could, is this a feature? Is this a bug? I say it's a fug.
It's a fug. It's a feature bug. Or a beacher. No, a fug.
No, it's a fug. I like it.
It's definitely a fug.
And you know what? It doesn't affect me at all. I'm using TCL. JK. LOL.
Yeah, let's bring this back for the folks who are like, I'm not a sysadmin, so do I need to worry about this? Probably you don't. If you do have a router that's older, especially, but really if you have any router, you might want to double check that it's up to date on its firmware. And if you have a router that's locked down by the ISP, you want to call the ISP and say, hey, you guys going to update this? And if you have any Internet of Things devices, again, Steve Gibson gave great advice yesterday. Put them on the guest part of your network so that they're not on the same part that you're accessing with the rest of your computers, and make sure that their firmware is updated, and then wait for the OS 10 update to come along. But Darren, would you agree that you don't need to panic?
No, you don't need to panic, but you definitely need to read every line of source code that anything, a computing device in your world uses, as well as monitor every single packet that transgresses your networks.
Stop it. You're scaring people.
Oh, I'm just saying, if you want to really be secure.
Yeah, no, but that's actually where I was going, is you don't need to do that. You don't need to read every line of source code. You just kind of want to check and make sure your firmware is up to date. That's just good practice anyway, right?
Yep. Yeah, and it's good to see the vendors responding very appropriately as far as the Googles and the Amazons for the AWSs and whatnot.
Yep. Our second story, the Federal Aviation Administration in the United States is allowing 6 companies to fly drones under controlled circumstances while shooting video, movies and TV stuff. Astrius Aerial Mob, Pictor Vision, Hella Video, Snaproll Media, and RC Pro Productions Consulting all got approval. Apparently a 7th filmmaker is requesting approval, and that's pending as well. They have to do a lot, Darren. Did you look into all the stuff that they had to file and agree to get this permission?
It's ridiculous. Do you have the list? Because it's kind of insane.
Well, Hella Video, for example, has a 38-page exemption, which includes 35 provisions restricting the weight, speed, and flight elevation of the aircraft, requiring inspections and test flights after maintenance, requiring the operator to have a pilot's license and 25 hours of prior drone flying experience, requiring documented test runs before actual video recording, and a restriction that people not involved with the production must be at least 500 feet away. 3 days before flying, the companies have to notify the FAA with detailed plans, and if the drone flies too high or too far laterally, the operator must report it.
Okay, so this is not a victory in any sense for consumers, like you know, the headlines, ooh, certain people get to use drones for movie making, that's good, right? No, could you imagine if every farmer that wanted to check their crops or monitor their livestock had to go through that kind of, the FAA is 3 years behind even getting to what Congress told them that they needed to do in 2011, and then they come up with these kind of rules. They don't have the manpower to do this kind of stuff for the amount of people that are out there trying to do this. Look at this device. This thing is 37 grams. Am I going to have to contact the FAA every time I want to fly this around my cat in my living room? And
please keep the cat 500 feet away from the drone, sir.
I will not. I will not keep the cat away from the drone. Come and arrest me, FAA.
Yeah, and honestly, if you fly it inside your house, I guess you're not going to get in trouble, but...
But that's the thing. I actually, in some regards, I don't mind things okay, well, in these instances, we require, say, the drone operator to have a pilot's license, right? They don't have special unmanned aerial vehicle licenses yet, so until then, they want to make sure that people are being responsible, and they're certifying certain crafts in some instances. But it's just at a certain point, had we just had some sane rules years ago, we wouldn't be behind the rest of the world in this regard with these little, oh, we made 6 exemptions. That's progress. That's not progress.
This is actually a symptom of the problem, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes, because this is not sustainable. Maybe actually making some rules, or actually making something that we can actually put into the comment, what is it called, the proposed regulations, I'm losing my
proposed regulations works. I'm
right where we actually have a chance to we're supposed to get 18 months to be able to actually review what the proposed regulations are before they get voted on and turned into rules. Not what the FAA has been doing by making special interpretations of rules, for instance, for model aircraft, which makes me flying this with goggles illegal, by updating policies, rather than just making some sane regulations that we can all look at and see and comment on, and then they can accept those comments, and then it can go and get voted on and become a law where there's actually a avenue for people to say oh, hey, I'm a filmmaker, let me get my quote-unquote drone pilot's license, and then operate in a legit manner with a craft that's been verified to be safe in a manner that doesn't require six drone operators, 6,
maybe
Sorry.
7. Yeah.
Oh, maybe there might be 7. Wow.
So September 2015 is the next deadline? What's your guess that they actually have some proposed rules?
They're not going to make
by
any
then?
of these deadlines. They are 2 years and 8 months behind on the last deadlines. And rather than like meet any of these deadlines, they're just updating policies and also getting suits filed against them by the AMA and the trade associations and university researchers who use this stuff. They're essentially just destroying any sense of there being a model aircraft or drone industry in this country, and everything is going to go overseas if our government doesn't step up and get on the ball. It's just sad.
And as T2T2 typed in the chat room, you may now check the drone box on your DTNS bingo cards. Good stuff, man. Thanks for being passionate about this, because I think a lot of people, they go to the mall and they see the drones in the Brookstone store and they're like, well, that's cool, maybe I'll get into that, and they don't realize like all of these other things that are happening in the real world if you try to just like go to the beach and fly your drone, for instance, right?
Yeah, like Martha Stewart does.
Yeah, she's got what, a bunch for like parties or something?
Yeah, she's got at least 3. It was what I was reading in Vanity Fair or something like that. So this is mainstream, FAA. You missed your opportunity. The boat has sailed. That was 2009. It's 2014. Tech is happening, and you're not.
All right, let's take a look at the calendar. Apple's new iPhone's on sale in 20 more countries today, Friday. Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, Ireland, Italy, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Portugal, Qatar, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Taiwan, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates. You can now try to bend an iPhone 6 Plus. Tomorrow marks the founding of the company called Google. You may have heard of it. They were founded back in 1998. If you want to get Google a birthday present, their Google Play wish list includes a space elevator, 100% European market share, and sentience. Or you could just buy Google a balloon. They're very fond of balloons. Sunday, September 28th is the start of the Oracle Open World Conference in San Francisco, as well as the Java One Conference, also in San Francisco. And September 29th is the start of the ISC2 Security Conference in Atlanta, Georgia, all of which run through October 2nd. My pick of the day, real quickly, when I do the Tech Republic videos, they're 5 apps videos, I shoot them here on a green screen in the same room, and I've been memorizing the bits of the script, which is okay, but I just got a teleprompter for the iPad, Teleprompter Plus, and I got a teleprompter rig. Man, Teleprompter Plus is great.
Yeah, we used it on Hack 5 for a little while. It's not bad for notes.
$20. It's universal, so you can put it on the iPad and then control it from the iPhone, all for the same price. And then it can link with Dropbox or Google Drive to pull your scripts in. Worked like a dream. So that's my pick. Send your picks to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com, and you can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Finally, got some messages of the day. Rami in Padua, Italy writes, I have been listening to your talks about Europe and regulations and Google. I agree also that European community is a bit strange with these things. I live in Italy. We could have met here last week. Where were you? I actually passed through Padua in a train, but we didn't stop. But I waved. And I just hate some of the decisions the EU makes in the tech industry, starting a few years ago with the browser choice screen on fresh Windows installs, which was not easy to get rid of, going to Windows N editions, Google results filtration, and since sometimes the alert that websites that operate in the EU need to show you about cookies. I don't know how these sites work when visited from outside the EU, but for me here, for every single website I visit that applies this regulation, which is around 80%, I see the bar, top, bottom floating about the use of cookies. I'm a computer science graduate and work in IT, and I know about it, and I don't want to see all these warnings. The bad part is that when I visit non-tech savvy friends, they ask me about those biscuit thingies that internet sites use. Knowing the technical background of cookies will not help them get safer. They will still click on install free antivirus ads to get Trojan horses. EU wants to regulate things, but in my humble opinion, the decisions they are making are wrong and are complicating the life of everybody. That's a rant from the EU. Arrivederci. Alla prossima.
You know what I would love to see in regards to this? Imagine if, for instance, you could vote with your dollar and, say, opt into buying dark tech, right, and use a dark internet that, with the understanding that you don't have to go through nanny state kind of stuff, where you've opted in with your dollar, saying, "Look, listen, I accept all of the stuff that's going to come at me by doing this, but I prefer to have the unfettered and don't come at me, bro."
Yeah, you could do a VPN, and then you see fewer of those cookie warnings, although you still see some of them. Mille grazie, Rami, for sending that. Anthony Lemos, a.k.a. Ethan Kane, told us on Twitter that Verizon has enabled voice over LTE in Texas, so we asked him, have you tried it yet? Here's what he said. Yes, noticeable voice quality improvement and voice data usable simultaneously. It even seems to dial and connect faster. Full disclosure, the test was completed between iPhone 6 Pluses in nearby proximity, probably the same Verizon tower, but he seems to like it in that one test anyway. So thanks, Anthony and or Ethan, for sending in a little Insta test of voice over LTE. Appreciate that.
But if you put both iPhones on speakerphone next to each other and then scream into it, do you still get awesome reverb and feedback?
One would expect so. I don't think that's voice over LTE dependent.
Let's hope that never gets fixed, because that's just too much fun.
All right. Thank you, Darren Kitchen, hack5.org, hak5.org, and Len Peralta at lenperaltastore.com. What are you telling me? You're setting me up. You're like, oh, I don't know if it's going to be very good today. This is disturbingly awesome.
Oh, thank you. Well, I just want to make sure that I wasn't getting the tech wrong on this. But Shellshock is not a worm. It
can be wormified. It can be wormified. At least that's the theory.
Well, I just drew this because I thought it was funny.
For the purposes of art, it can definitely be wormified.
It's a worm eating through an apple, and the worm is saying you are safe by default.
In Tim Cook's voice.
That's right.
Assume.
You are safe by default.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's dead on Tim Cook too.
Thank you. Yes, it's up at my online store, and don't forget to support me on Patreon, patreon.com/Len.
Thank you, Len. This is brilliant. Go check it out. Even if you just want to take a look at it, audio listeners, lenperaltastore.com. This is like Ralph Steadman-like worm face.
A little bit, yeah. It was very
I love
weird.
It was pretty cool.
Thank you.
Hack 5, what's going on over there, Darren?
Well, if you want to hear me rant a little bit more about this kind of drone stuff, we've got an excellent episode at hak5.org right now where I take you out to my favorite flying field and tell you about this hobby that I so enjoy, take you on board, first-person view of some of these quadcopters, and also talk a little bit about the regulations that we're facing and what you can do to get involved. We've already seen 32,000 comments on the FAA's special interpretation of the model aircraft rules, and let's fight the good fight.
Excellent.
Also, Tom, specific to you, I would also like to thank you as you've presented me with the epic gift of USB goodness from the Vatican. And your note was the most endearing, Tom. Seriously, I've never received any more geek love than this. And I just need everybody to know, Tom said, quote, "You will always be path in my autoexec.bat." And to that, Tom, I can only say that you will always be the squiggle colon semicolon squiggle semicolon /bin/bash taxi reboot in my RC-local.
Oh, stop. You're making me tear up. Thanks again, you guys, for filling in when I was gone the other week. Really appreciate it. Check out our Patreon. We got 4,299, almost 4,300 people supporting the show. Sincere thanks to every single one of you. We're glad you see some value in the show and are willing to give some value back. If you are one who's like, I don't know what's with Patreon, I don't know this stuff, go to dailytechnewsshow.com/donate. We have all the options for supporting the show there, and we really appreciate everybody who can, and whether it's just telling somebody about the show does support the show. Don't forget, you have a voice in what stories we cover. That could be your one way of participating, or one of many ways. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Email us feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. And listen to the show live at mobile.alphageekradio.com. You can visit our website at dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll be back on Monday with Alpha Geek Radio's Todd Whitehead as our guest. Talk to you then.
About this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Yay.
We made it!
All right. Hey, I have to take off because I got to take my son out to his marching band thing.
Oh,
marching band thing. So,
well, remember to grab some spaghetti on the way.
I will. All right, I will, man. See you guys later.
Awesome. Thanks, Len.
Bye, Len. I have to go too and look at an office like a grown-up.
Go. Fly, my friends,
Have fun taking titles.
with your marching bands and your offices.
Oh man, that was good. I didn't realize that I had it in me. Oops. Sorry, dude. You must have hit a button or something. I got a little fired up.
No, it was a Darren rant. That was awesome.
But yeah, okay. I forgot to say some of the more, I don't know, sane
Balanced
stuff.
portions.
Balanced stuff.
All right,
yeah,
fair enough.
But yeah, you know. Anyway,
We can deal with it next time.
Yeah.
With the response emails.
Oh man.
The ranting flowed like liquid, says Nth Mike.
I'm hoping that things don't, really go south with the drones, and that I will be prohibited from flying anywhere but the new Hack 5 warehouse. Oh yes, it's official.
Is it official now?
It
That's
is
awesome.
official. Yeah.
Congrats, man. That's great.
We're excited. Yeah.
So, can you park the van inside the warehouse?
If I got a ramp, I might be able to, but we've got a
I
loading
just
dock
want to
instead.
see that shot.
I know.
Of the
I
van,
want
like,
this. We can finally put the jib back in, and I want the jib with the van. Trust me, I know. But
Yeah.
I'm in a quote unquote my first warehouse. It's only like 5,000 square feet, but
because I want to see it like leap out the front door of the warehouse.
Well, how's this? I'll get the stabilized drone shot that goes from the warehouse through the warehouse and then like under the boxes and through the forklift and then into the van.
Nice. That'll work. Yeah.
On the show.
And then the van just starts driving, and you're like, wait, is the drone driving the van?
Oh, I like that. Yes. Or like it follows the van, like as the van is driving, and then boom, flies into the warehouse. And then I'm there with like the half pipe that we're building, because you can't have a warehouse without a half pipe, it turns out.
It's code in Richmond, I hear. Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe 2 quarter pipes and a zip line.
Nice. There was a great article about Richmond recently, and it being like a secret haven.
Yeah, please don't pass that around. Rent's already bad enough.
About how awful it is, and no one should ever move there.
No one. Every time we see hipsters on the streets here in Point Richmond, I always make sure, like whoever I'm with, to just like change the subject real quick and speak very loudly as I pass them. I'm like, I can't believe they snatched the baby right here. Or, man, did you smell the refinery fire this morning? Yeah.
I can't believe they snatched the baby and threw it into the refinery fire.
What kind of sacrificial fools!
You know that's the wrong order if you want to appease the Dark One.
You take it to the top of Mount Tam first!
Obviously.
And then strap it to a drone. Oh my gosh, did you see Cat Drone?
No, I did not see Cat Drone.
Somebody took a cat, the taxidermied cat. I can only imagine it. It looked lifelike. It must have been a taxidermied cat, and then spread its paws out. This is kind of horrible, but also kind of like maybe a little sweet in a weird sense, where the person like loves their cat so much and they wanted to continue on. And so it's a cat quadcopter.
Man, we got no clear leader on the titles.
Oh, what's the URL again? I always forget.
Showbot.replex.org.
Okay,
Everybody go in there and vote right now.
Oh, that's horrible. There's a lot of awesome things, but no votes. See, when you first said ELO, the first thing I thought of was EHLO, like what you would say to an SMTP server over Telnet.
Echo, hello.
I always thought that was interesting about that old protocol, where it's like you would identify yourself by doing EHLO.
Wasn't there also a HELO? Wasn't there a command that was HELO? Am I just making that up?
Yeah, there were some spelling mistakes in some of these old protocols, which I love.
Mm-hmm. Sudo Hulk Bash.
Well, anytime we get a pseudo joke, it's good.
It's pseudo and Hulk joke in one. That's pretty damn
Hulk Bash.
impressive.
Yeah. I like that. Anybody else? Let's see.
It's a fug.
Nah, I don't think that's going to catch on, actually.
Well, it's not going to catch on if we try to push it, either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Although It's a Fug is now winning.
Although if it's... well, then again, you had... What was yesterday's title?
Bash with the asterisks like mash.
Oh, cute. I like that.
Wow, It's a Fug's running away with it.
Shouldn't it be shebang? It's a fug. Or I guess you can't put pound exclamation point in your.
Can I?
No, you can't put that in a file name.
I couldn't put it. I won't put it in the file name, but I could put it in the headline in WordPress.
Oh yeah. In WordPress you could do that.
Ooh.
My favorite use of this bash bug is actually the DHCP one. Have you seen this? Or if you're using DHCP CD on Linux to get a IP address from a DHCP server, and the DHCP server is set up maliciously, it can do remote execution on your machine. I just love that. There's something beautiful about that.
It's very symmetrical, right? Mm-hmm. Or reverse symmetrical. There's something elegant.
Mm-hmm.
Darren is spelled with a capital D, Tom. Duh.
It doesn't matter.
Like,
actually, now that I'm not using it yet. I was about to say I'm going to change my formal name. I'm going to change my middle name to Dot.
Didn't somebody do that, or am I just thinking of the .com people who sold their names to .coms?
Yeah. And then there was that character, friend of Grizz on 30 Rock.
Oh yeah.
.com.
Mm-hmm. I remember Grizz.
Grizz and .com. Yeah.
Oh right, and .com. Right.
.com was his name. Yeah. It's a pretty great name. Until it's no longer the most popular TLD. Which, can we make predictions right now on when that will be?
I think it will be... Okay. What is your question? Is it when will it technically be not the most popular TLD, or when will it go out of our public consciousness? You know, like when will it by traffic stats actually be like, well, people are going, .com is actually...
You're right.
Because I think that'll happen sooner. I think .com will just be like album.
Mm-hmm. So like maybe in the sense of internet infrastructure, certain things will always be there. For example, http:// is still there, but browsers don't show it anymore because we're all like, dude, we got rid of that in the 90s. Do you remember those Dove commercials that ended in http:// And you're wow, you just wasted half your commercial. And then we dropped the www, so maybe we'll just... I always thought that a symbol would take over, Like something that could be uniquely identified as
the musical instrument?
Yeah, like a musical instrument. No. Kind of like a treble clef. Like you can...
Well, they've allowed non-Roman alphabet characters now, so why not? Let's get Zap Dingbats in there as a domain.
Ooh. Well, I thought Dingbats was replaced with Webbats because of the whole 9/11 thing.
Was it really?
Yeah, if you typed 9/11 or something in Dingbats, it would show a plane and then towers or something like that. Hang on, I have to look this one up. It's pretty good.
Oh, that's unfortunate. How did I miss that? I never.
It was Wingdings. 9/11.
It was Wingdings. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Wingdings.
Having a wingding, are you?
Oh yeah, it's an airplane, 2 towers, and then a skull.
Yeah,
that's
unfortunate.
Oh no, it's when you type in NYC.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway,
I was not reading enough Drudge at some point.
I don't think Nostradamus was using Webdings, was he?
I'm pretty sure he predicted its use though, so he would know the character set.
That would make sense. I've always just used the Unicode equivalent.
Yeah.
What's that in HTML? Ampersand NBSP semicolon? No, that's not going to work.
Ampersand pound 123 semicolon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, now that I think about it, I might be able to do ANSI in HTML that way.
Yeah.
Yeah? Can I? No.
%20.
I was really hoping.
No?
No, like why isn't ANSI part of like if we've made most fonts Unicode with all of the non help me out here symbols.
Sorry, I'm trying to fill out forms at the same time I'm listening, and I can't think of it. Damn it. Wait, what?
Yeah. You need to know this. HTML character codes, right? And that's for ASCII.
Right.
You can get like copyright, and then there's like shorthand ampersand copy, right? But where's the one that's the Miss Pac-Man? Like there's the smiley face, and then there's the block, and then the shaded block, the slightly more shaded block, the even more opaque shaded block.
It's the way you want to, if you want to show the open and close, the less than greater than signs, you got to use ampersand, LT.
LT and GT.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was always like, LT for left tag, GT, wait a minute. Oh no, greater than.
Yeah.
Like
Tommy,
my mnemonic was horrible.
You have to remember the alligator that's going to eat the other number.
It was like, but my mnemonic was, LT for the left tag, and then the other one is on the right. Like, that's a horrible mnemonic. Why didn't I just think less than and greater than?
It works. It works. No,
it half worked. I could never remember G.
Whatever.
Though.
Once you get the LT, it's obvious what the RT is going to be. Oh wait, no.
But it's G.
RT.
It's not R. That's what would always throw me off.
Oh, interesting. Ampersand shy semicolon is a soft hyphen, aka a blank character. Oh. I've always used NBSP semicolon, which is a space character. Oh, it's a non-breaking space.
NBSP is the non-breaking space. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is between NBSP and transparent.gif, that pretty much sums up my horrible web design. But I'm learning.
Wait, what about Blink? You had to put a Blink tag in at some point.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. We're talking about HTML and like codes that weren't legit.
Yeah, Blink was. I was going to use Blink, but then Blink was also hated, and there's better examples where the tags are actually quite useful and yet non-standard. Of course, B and I are now deprecated.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't be because I use them.
You're supposed to use M.
Oh, whatever. And here's this is going back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like, well, we can't fix it because people are using it.
I think WordPress is the one that if you type B and I, it'll change it to M and strong, or vice versa.
Yeah, I always take the trailing slash out of my BRs, and I'm like, no, BR, we're not closing you. Stop trying to do that.
Screw you, XML.
Yeah.
You are not a closable tag to me. You just get mad.
Why does invalid HTML work? Because we all started using it.
Yeah, because even though there's a standard, it is up to the browsers to decide whether they'd actually implement the standard, and they all implemented it a little differently because they wanted a competitive advantage. Our browser will show Blink tags, so everyone will download our browser now.
Yeah, and then we can get an animated GIF of E spinning around, and then we can put at the bottom of our page, best viewed in VGA with Internet Explorer 2.
Oh God, I remember the moment that I gave up on that, where I was like, no, I am not putting a compatible with these 17 versions of browsers anymore. Forget it. I'm done.
Yep. Which is why I'm only using HTML on my new website with a little bit of JavaScript to paint it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm bringing ASCII back.
Not if I don't first.
You're bringing ANSI back, right?
So there we go. Yeah, I'm gonna bring ANSI back. You know what? Here's the thing. I actually have already figured out what I'm going to do, and it's kind of sad. Hopefully there's already a framework for this, but if there isn't, I will be writing JavaScript that translates whatever characters I choose to use as ANSI into individual GIF files that are properly sized equivalents of them, and so I'll just have to screenshot every single ANSI thing, bring it into Photoshop and crop it out and save it as its character code.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, but it's totally worth it. And you know what? By then, when you've loaded like 1,000 GIF files in sequence on your browser, it'll be as slow as a 300 baud modem, and then it'll just feel more realistic.
That's right. And you're worth it.
Yes.
Oh man, this is taking forever. Okay.
Yeah, that website I sent you, I actually had to throw in slowdown code because I was like, it's painting too fast.
Yeah.
I need to make it look like no faster than a 14.4. Anything more than that is just kind of like, meh.
Uncivilized. All right. I am going to assume that this is going to work.
Cool. I am going to go quasi-legally fly quadcopters indoors with first-person view
Totally
goggles.
legal.
I might be violating airspace that 747s might be
Might fly through your
needing to
warehouse.
use, yes, but let's hope not.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, cheers,
Talk
dude.
to you.